Welcome to another episode of the Investor's Guide to Hard Money Lending. Today we have with us James Jones with Elevate Coaching. He sends a lot of people to us, a lot of his students with us, and I know he keeps getting a following, and he definitely knows the Memphis investment market, does a lot with Section 8 properties and rehabbing properties. So really excited to have him on here, share some of his knowledge with us.
Appreciate it so much. Glad to be here.
Okay, so tell me, because you built up quite a follower product business, how did you start?
Way back when, like 2003, I got fired from a company called Planner X for parking my car ready to clock in, trying to be late, had a newborn baby. Once that happened, I was up late at night. There's this guy called Carlton Sheets, like an infomercial type thing called flipping contracts before like the whole wholesaling flood and everything took over across the nation. So I bought the course with him. It was like $29. Came in the mail, a couple booklets of DVDs. Pretty much did the game. You go to the tax assessor, you find out about to lose their house, says back taxes, you go knock on the door, and just started there and kind of took off within like 21 days, made like 17 grand, and then just never looked back.
Wow, 2003, man, at that, and when you were a baby, like that's kind of life changing.
Yeah. It was definitely. Back then, we didn't have smartphones like we do these days, and even smartphones are still dial back then. Like it was cordless phones, it was a whole different world.
Yes, it was. So how's it evolved over time? Like what you done?
Way easier. So just like wholesale, I had other students that need some help on that. We do what's called a ringless voicemail through Drop.co, where for $300, says they would drop out 10,000 voicemails this morning and get a contract by noon. So if you just get in marketing these days, you can make money doing almost anything.
Okay. So how did you start, and you still continue to use hard money lending? How does hard money lending play a role in what you do in building your business?
Yeah, it's just faster. So if I use cash, a lot of lenders require me to have season periods for either 6 months to a year. That means I'm paying high interest the whole entire time. It makes no sense. Using hard money, a lot of times, I get a refi 91 days. Some lenders I can even refi sooner inside the actual time period I'm refinancing with them. So it makes the whole process feel faster. I'm able to rinse the money faster, able to grow. Kind of good of affinity returns. If you do the Burr method like myself, the average cash out refi is anywhere from 45,000 to 80,000. So just you're printing money 4 times a year now versus just doing it once or twice. Plus the hard money lenders love me. It's better for them. They get more coins. They get more, volume. So it's a win-win for everybody.
So backtracking on that just a little bit, because you always hear that cash was king when it comes to you buying these properties and doing that. You're saying it's easier for you, and you do better using hard money.
Yeah. So cash is nice for me. I try to keep no money in my bank account. I got a tax refund last year of $8,000. So I'm very, very poor. So what I do is I just use loans. Yeah. So like even my businesses, they may make a lot of money, but they load me money. I'm constantly buying properties, using hard money, paying interest, CapEx. So even these businesses on paper are very, very cash poor. Most of my cars, everything is owned by the businesses. So myself, I have very little, unfortunately, even though life's tough for me, but the businesses do well. I take a lot of loans. It works out for me.
Okay, so you say you typically you a 90-day period, then you see you refinance them out. So, and that's a way too. I know that some of our borrowers, like that's a way where you're cashing out where it's not a profit at that point, so you're not paying taxes on that.
Yeah, correct. So on a cash out refund, there is no taxes whatsoever. So I just did one 363 button over here and a 111. That's like a $368,000 appraisal. Like what something appraises for, what something sells for are two different things. So it's all about getting a good system in place. I was able to make like 150,000 tax free. There's no CapEx, no issues there. That money just goes inside the account. And I loan myself money, buy more properties, just keep the snowball effect. I keep on going.
And so I've seen you have a lot of success in some of these areas that have been typically historically distressed areas in Memphis, but I'm seeing that you and your team or your students, you're actually raising the values of those properties, like say in our 3114. So I see a lot going on over there right now.
Yeah, correct. So usually I try to start like about 6 years ago. I was still heavy like to the Cooper Young area before that area came up. That was very poor. It was a war zone. It was horrible. Like Cock Street, Young, some of these streets were just disastrous. They're not the best streets now. Because now you have comps that are selling for 360, 375. It's, whole different demographic over there. So Orange Mound has all those indicators, just like we're doing Cooper Young. They got the bike streets going in. They're getting the riffraff out. So you want to be like first versus last. If anybody's entering that market now in Cooper Young, is that going to pay a premium? The houses I got, I got for 97,000, 68,000, 85,000. So holding these now, I'm able to refi every 5 years before I just ride that wave up versus kind of getting in the game late.
Okay, and so on those refi, I know you keep your properties, and you deal a lot with Section 8. How has that kind of helped where it's increasing the values of the properties, the Section 8. How is that? What do you go for in Section 8 tenants?
Yeah, so like around COVID hit, I kind of pivoted. So I was at a stopping point. I was stuck at a certain number of doors, like 300 units. It was hard because interest rate was high at that point, and then you couldn't do nothing with the retail tenant. So we bought a portfolio in Fraser, and there was one Section 8 tenant. And then when COVID stopped, all these idiots stopped paying me. The Section 8 kept on rolling in. Our partner Anthony went out to one of the mentors in Miami, was talking to him about it. And then we're like, we're going to go all Section 8 for years. I was using other property managers like RCM or there's different ones. I was always called like Section 8's the worst thing in the world. Like they're the horrible tenants, but there's ways that you can control your risk once you actually dive into the program. So we just dived into it. We started out there at Overton Manor. We did 12 of them that worked really well, refied it out. And then again, the way we just picked up single families left and right. And the biggest thing is Section was paying higher. So like a 4-bedroom, 2-bath in the Orange Mound today pays like $1,850. I have some other people are studying retail. It's hard to really get $1,000 for that same unit. So that extra rent that it pays, I don't fear that I'm paying 7.5 for the interest, 8%. I could keep on the ball rolling to get the higher range. So it allows me to keep on going forward versus being stuck.
Now, you said to try and mitigate your risk, do Section 8 and work that program. How do you do that?
So the way it works, I never do this because a lot of property management companies don't dive into it. Well, if the tenant during that 1 year they stay with you damage anything, you can add that to your ledger or any kind of maintenance that would fall back on them. Say they stopped at the toilet, so they broke the window. You can add that to their ledger and they can't leave your property with that ledger's paid off. So it's like you're holding them hostage, which is great. So like I said before, these people were kind of doing crazy things and there's always certain things that broke, like closet doors, garbage disposal. So on our new project, since I'm doing it on in-house now, I eliminate any kind of maintenance concern. I get rid of ceiling fans, garbage disposals, anything that broke on the past years. I mean, under these house over a decade, all my money pits I was losing all the time, we just removed everything to make it a better product so there's less maintenance. And then a lot of times people are flipping a breaker box on a lot of pointless mistakes that cost you money as a service guy out there. I just made like how-to videos on YouTube. So like these different things from like how to use a plunger. You'd be surprised like how many people can't use a freaking plunger or how to clean mold off their toilet or how to clean their backs out. So literally we make every single video to make it on a 5th grade level to make sure we have hardly no maintenance. Like on one of my LLCs, like 302 units in that one, we have less than $3,000 in maintenance costs per month because we try to make sure that these tenants are taught to be grown-ups and actually take care of their own business. And plus, any less than 250 also does follow that. So pretty much, if you do your product right, you'll never have probably no kind of improper that's going to affect you or make you sad at night.
Because that's a big thing that you say it's not something finance. You're cash flowing $300 a month or $400 a month. One big ticket item, and then that's whacked onto cash flow for the entire year.
Yeah, you're correct. Through the roof. I remember back in the day, I'd have retail tenants, and then they would ruin my AC, and I'd be sad and then depressed. But there's even different grant programs with Section 8. If these people damage something, you can go get help. Like they're living so crazy is when you are targeting a different demographic that needs, there's benefits. So like some of these tenants might get a huge balance built up or damages, and then CSA opens and you can send them there. You can get checks of $12,000-$14,000 and get all the back win, all the back damages. And there's these organizations that want to just throw money at you, which is, great.
It's great for you. And so you have built this huge portfolio. So how do you do it to where you go into these? I see some of the properties that your people that you've sent to us that you've done as well. And these rehab budgets should be much more expensive than what you are. How have you managed to do that?
Yeah, so just keeping everything in house, keeping my employees busy. So I have about probably 65 guys that work for me like full time. They're not subs. They're not chasing like a paycheck every week, and they understand it's every single day versus trying to get a steak every once in a while. So we keep them busy, and then for all my students, I just do the rehab at cost plus charge them the $2,000 management fee for my time to making sure my guys are there. But by keeping these guys steady, it just keeps the cost at a fixed rate where it's easier. Like we're paying like $102 for a roof per square when other companies are charging $300 these days. That's fine, but the materials will only cost, $60 to $75. And then you have amigos that would love to make $30 a square. They're happy with that, making an honest wage for the day. So it's just a system that works across the board.
And I do tell people too that are kind of new with this, like, do not call the person that's advertising on TV because you're going to pay for that advertising. So it's fine to find the trusted one that doesn't have all of this, that is simply quality work.
Correct. And that's the hardest thing with contractors. Like along my way, like, there's like this guy named Rusty, he destroyed me on a Midtown flip. So I tried throughout to get out of it to make my life easier just to be a passive investor. But unfortunately, to be able to make true money and have systems, you have to stay active. because the more control you have, the more money you're going to make, and you make the money so much faster without any kind of risk or any kind of issues, or you ain't going to worry about stuff.
Okay, so what areas are you seeing? You deal with a lot of these investors. What areas are you seeing that are extremely popular to go into right now? You said you want to be in first. You get big with all your secrets, but you give some suggestions.
So I go with it. That's no secret. So I try to go to 3 at 109. Unfortunately, there's not enough comps. I think that area is very much potential. You can get real estate there super, super cheap. The best thing about it is most of the people that do property management hate that area. They talk bad about it. So it's great because it drives that property value down. But the best thing about it, I just picked up 3 units there. I was all in for less than 125 on 3 different units, which is great. Pretty much it stalled though from the people that they couldn't sell. So I was like, fine. Refied it. They came a little bit lower, like at 95 a door, but I'm still cash flowing super heavy, like 1950 on those 3 units. Section 8 case, the same thing across the board. They don't care if it's in Bartlett, regardless, you get around the same rent. So these 4 bedrooms, I'm getting $6,000 total rent, which is great. And people like that area because you have Walmart, you have shopping, you have a Starbucks. It's real close to Whitehaven. You have more options than versus them going to like 108 North Memphis, and there's not that much options for them to shop at and stuff. So it's a better area. It just sucks if right now that able to pull a lot of cash flow until those comps come there to justify that.
And it always takes, yeah, going into there's not the comps yet. So it's like you said to be first, so there's not the comps, but you can get in there eventually will be comps.
Yeah, like I said, I've done like in several markets just making that comps. And the other day, you can have a good product, find a good buyer, sell it, and you can force appreciation by giving something that's never been done before. When we first started in Orange Mountain, there was nothing there. So we put 2 really nice properties out there, fixed them up, had really nice Section 8 tenants in there, sold it for like 195 and then 205 because the rents supported it. And that's how it all started. So you can force appreciation in any market just by finding that right buyer. There's buyers in Brazil that would love to get 8%, which is kind of crazy to us. And we won't greedy, we want 12 or 15. There's always a buyer that wants to, go ahead and park their money somewhere to start the process.
Okay. So with you still use a lot of hard money and you've got a lot of properties out there. Why hard money versus traditional lenders?
Yeah, so same thing. Traditional lenders will take longer. I'm not trying to like full of tax returns. I'm not trying to pay taxes. I tried that jazz back in 2021 for like $250,000 to IRS for no reason. There's nothing. There's just headaches throughout to send like in South. They want all these tax returns. They want this. It's not worth the headache or the process going to it. I'd rather just keep it with hard money. It's easier. A lot of times it benefits local guys that use the local companies. So a lot of money stays in your community, which is nice. And it's just easier versus having that international lender that just kind of, wants all these documents. And at the end of the day, you're spending hours and hours to file paperwork. Then you figure out, hey, listen, like you do the deal, but now I need 20% down, or I need 10% down. It's just better to go to someone local. You pay your, 5 or 6 points, you get the deal done, and you're on to the next one.
Okay, so how many like for your new students that come in where their first time using hard money, what is your advice to them?
Yeah, so I had one student, Chris, who decided to use this dash. I explained to him, I try to, because I do want to educate what hard money is. I try to explain to him, I was like, listen, this is the path we need to go. Doing it this way is going to suck. So he decided to do his own cash in there. But now, the lawyer we work with will refund to, 6 months. So now this money is just tied in there. The property is a tenant in there, but it's going to slow this process because once he gets that refi on 6 months, he'll get his cash back out. But if you use hard money, that 150, he could apply that and did, 10 houses at one time. And then in 90 days, he could have refied those 10 properties and made close to, $500,000. And for the same amount of work. Now he's on to just wait because now he's already cash for, because unfortunately he's all his cash. So that happens to that one property, it burns down. They'll have to wait to file an insurance claim. There's just so many what ifs, and you have all your little, eggs of cash in a little basket.
So I'm hearing it's the speed. That's the key is the speed to keep everything.
Yeah, dude, it's like a snowball.
So, of what would you say about going into these your first time people? You've got your contractor set. If you've got a network, what would you say your advice would be for some of these new people come in, like how to find a contractor, how to find a trusted mo?
Yeah, so it starts with your whole system. So you have to find the property manager. You got to get the end in the mind. You start there. You find your contractor. You ask the question. So I had a new student today. I was like, listen, just call around and ask them a simple question for the property manager company. How much you charge for a toilet replacement? So he called like which was crazy, $475. I was like, what? For one toilet? Okay, no problem. And he called range styles. I have no idea. I was like, wow. So he just went through these people and called these boats. I was like, now you have common sense, right? How much does the toilet cost? Look at Home Depot, and how much you get some guys from Francis to get it for? He said, I don't know, let's just make the calls. He said, I got prices from like 75 to 125 labor and the toilet's $100. I said, so you can do it yourself, you can get it for 250. So even though these guys are pitching, they don't have a markup on maintenance. Someone's making that double price somewhere, so it's just higher. And if that toilet goes out, you're going to lose that revenue. So when it's a contractor, so I was like, cool, you got your property, just have 20 people come out there. He's like, why am I do that? I was like, because you need 20 bids. So you got 20 contractors, and the highest one was Chris was whatever. It was like $192,000 for a rehab, which is crazy. His lowest, yes, it's more than he yes. As I was telling, his lowest one was 62. I was like, well, typically if we build something for you, you can get a new build for like 135 to 140 square foot for something high end. Since this guy is trying to charge you this, I would recommend going him. This low guy, you want to check if he's insured, licensed, and bonded, check the Better Business Bureau, just trying to go through the process. But you have to figure out who does it. And then I said, ask who can get started with other draws. So only 2 companies can get started with other draws. So typically with hard money, you're building a relationship with your lender. So a lot of lenders don't want to give a draw first. You have to have somebody that can go in there, get started, do the demo, actually have some thin skin in the game. So he found 2 companies to do it, but then one guy's been on Annie's something he said years ago. So I was like, that's probably not the best spec. So he found his contractor, but it took him about, 6 hours with the whole process to find someone he trusts. And it is still the risk, because like I said, you can find someone that, checks off all the boxes, and he's still throwing off your money. Like I said, I think I'm very well advanced in terms of picking contractors, and I've been probably robbed 2 different times in the last 4 years, because sometimes you just get full. You have I had 29 projects at one time. It was just hectical. I tried to bring on some other guys, and then that's what happens. You just have to make sure you stay up to your bandwidth and never try to grow too fast, because that's when you could have, major issues that can cost you tens of thousands of dollars. I got a project going down that. I'm like probably 900 grand in it, priced it over $300,000 in interest. Just hold it, because why? Unfortunately, the contractor got hired. Even though he was licensed, everything was good. He didn't know there was another overlay for the medical district there. So he built a fence out of wood instead of metal. That got to stop worker. You got to do attorneys. So it's just a lot of learning curves when you try to go, too fast.
Yeah. And you mentioned contractors being licensed and bonded. You talk about a draw process. I know with us, for a contract, we work in it in really reimbursement for us. First, yeah, if they're licensed and bonded, we can do advances up to 25%, up to 25,000. So that's a way to get that reputable contractor, because license and bonded means there is some type of accountability there.
True.
So that's definitely a thing too, of looking into hard money lenders. Do they do advances? Do they do reimbursements? How much do they advance for those things? Because like you said, it depends on how liquid you are.
Correct.
On what you could do, which you've been it for a while, but most of the time people just starting out, they don't have that much liquid.
Yeah, sometimes people get stuck, which is horrible. And like I said, it's part of the game. So I'm taking several of those back from different, students, different investors. I think I've bought a couple for you guys, and just people have bad luck. They make bad decisions. But like I said, there's always ways to get out of it. Just some people just throw their hands up and just say, hey, listen, I can't do this, because things happen. There's a chance that property can get broken into. If that thing gets broken into, that falls on you. So fall on your lender to give you more money. Then it wasn't to happen. A lot of stuff can happen when you're invested in these, secondary markets. You just got to make sure that you're always familiar to a nest egg for when ifs.
And so of all these ones where they're fortunate they make bad decisions, what do you see is probably the most common mistake people make when they're trying to go about doing these?
Yeah, so sometimes they think it's their personal house. So they want to do like super nice things, nice appliances, granite countertops, pull and soft close cabinets, like all that jazz does not need it. At the end of the day, the buildings are for rental. The goal is to get the best product at the cheapest price. You can get some really nice cabinets for like $3,000. You can get nicer cabinets for $9,000, but sometimes people just go over budget. Okay, they want to spend more. Not having it where it's everything's just a fixed cost, not having a contract, and not knowing your actual cough. I had one student, she went through the whole entire thing, got to the end, she owed the contract of $22,000. And I was like, how does this even happen? I was like, so what, can you explain your process? The idiot still would work, right? Well, no, I made one myself. And I was like, did you ever get a price on? No, we were doing it item by item. It's easier. I said, well, typically it's simpler to get a whole price for the whole contract. You get a volume discount. And you were hired him to get a roofer, to a plumber, electricity, or pennies as you're going. You never knew what you could spend. And that's just kind of scary. So you always want to make sure you have a scope of work, and you have 10 to 15% of just what if happened, if this shit happens. That way you don't make a mistake.
And that's true. And that's what we see. And that's also time when we see people have the most, if they take too much time, 'cause they're making too much like change orders or rigid decisions. And then they're at that 6-month mark, and then the loans reach maturity, and then rolling into extremely high interest rates, which then their profits are gone or their cash flow is gone. So it is speed and sticking to your plan.
Yeah, it had no kind of like ours is like bacon and fit. Even most of my students are very simple. We give them a couple color choices. We do porcelain tile. We do solid doors where no one can break the door. We just want to make sure everything is kind of like, just bulletproof to make sure it's be a nice product. Like I said, your windows, like this is the craziest thing. The student at home go to Home Depot, frame them in, get the cheap windows, $150. His contractor wanted to go to Window World. So he paying $22,000 for 14 windows, which is just crazy. Because after I got those same 14 windows done, probably for less than $3,000.
And you're not going to get any more rent for that.
No, it doesn't make it like it was the craziest thing.
New windows are new windows.
So that's what I'm saying. Like I was baffled that he decided to spend $22,000. I was like, are they how it go? Like what's going on here? Like are they bulletproof? He's like, yeah, they use energy efficient. I was like, yeah, that's Home Depot. Yeah, at the top opens. I was like, yeah, Home Depot does that too. I was like, I don't understand, but you did. I mean, it's crazy because his contractor steered in that way. So typically we just file whatever window size is in stock closest to it, frame up the bottom, frame on the top, and it works. It looks great. And it saves, thousands of dollars, plus it saves time.
And that's time. Time is of essence in any of this and in best properties and hard money lending. Time is money.
Correct.
100% there. So yeah, we definitely see that the different areas and a lot of times we'll kind of look at for new borrowers, especially you come in with something to us like, you know what you did. We trust your scope of work. You're going to get it done. What you're going to get done for a brand new one. A lot of times we might request a secondary scope of work because we don't know that contractor or we don't know this borrower. Yeah. So it's like, it's kind of as a safety thing of we don't think you should be doing this or it's actually going to cost you this much more. Trying to help them to give advice too. So CoreLend, we're investors ourselves for the most part. So we want them to win. Or you want your students to win too, because then they keep coming back to you and you refer people to you.
Yeah.
So where all do you have your students come from? Like where?
Everywhere. So people come from Canada. Like Felipe came from Brazil. He moved to Orlando. So these people come from all over. A lot of them we usually will switch their citizenship if they're foreign, just because they get higher LTVs. They get to 75% versus 65 or 60. A lot of people come from New York, California. So the average investor is just someone who has a good job to make it maybe 150, 200K a year, and you're just trying to figure out how to deploy their money more safely without risk.
And so why for you? You've got this. Why do you still real estate versus say other markets? Why do you continue to invest in that? Like you said.
Yeah. So like I said, I like a lot of stuff. But like I said, shit tanks. So that we lost like 400 grand on this one stock was doing amazing. So real estate is more like just it's guaranteed. It's like regardless. Like right now I do Section 8, so like this month my income rate is like 30 grand on my rent increases. It's just more guaranteed, time and true. Equity grows. Over 90% of millionaires are made in real estate, so it's just easier. And like I said, I like single family versus multi-family because or small multi-family because stuff happens or the market's thin, I can get out of there. So I just sold a 6 unit today at 106 because I decided listen, 106 had an opposite effect. I thought once they started building that area and tourists going in there, that area would pop, though it didn't pop. So just selling those things still at a profit and just going to put that money more in like the 109, 114. So you just got to learn to pivot. But with real estate, you have those things. You penalize. I could do what's called there's tax benefits. When I sell this, we'll do like rolling into another program. Okay, your taxes. So there's all kinds of different things when you're kind of leveling up with real estate versus other, riskier areas.
And like you said, you lost 400 grand on a stock. Well, the chances are, real estate, it typically doesn't throw poof over it, unless you have a fire. But then hopefully you have insurance on.
Yeah, being fire is beneficial. Most of my investments, my appraisals are worth way 1/8 they're worth. So the insurance policies require hefty. I had one in Craysport that burnt down. It's probably worth maybe $120 on a great day. The insurance checks for like $195, which is crazy. But hey, listen, say the day, do you want to be insured?
Okay. So tell me, what questions do you have for me?
No questions really. I'm pretty simple.
Yeah, as you've been around our block of hard and under, so there's a few local and they're nationwide too, and so
yeah. I think I had a question. Just maybe just like I've done business a lot. Going to make you guys like as a lender friendly for. Like, but that's the one thing I wish you guys ask coming with them. Maybe like easier because I just do shit like set it and forgive with subscription, auto payment. I could go in there, my VA for request draws. Like, I like to be like a streamlined, easy process that makes it super friendly for me. Cause like I said, I want to send like 10 emails or 8 emails. Like, that just sounds like a job. I don't want to have a job. So that's like systematic things, right? Cause just like said.
And that is coming. That is actually coming the first week of June for us.
That's good. So I'll probably birthday.
So yes, I know, yeah, looking forward to it. It's always a pleasure having you in and speaking with you. So I know you got a million things going for real estate too. So appreciate you stopping by.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right.